for joining us today. My name is Christy Duvall. I am the Vice President of Sales for the Boxmaker. And let's see, how does this work here? Okay. And in addition to leading enterprise sales for the company, I also lead structural design, pricing, and client services. If you're not familiar with the Boxmaker, the company was started in 1981 as a traditional brown box plant. And over the last 41 years, we have evolved into a modern digital print packaging company with two of the highest capacity all-digital plants in the U.S. that promote brands and protect product. So when I was talking to Fraser, one of the questions he asked me in the podcast that we recorded was, tell me your story to the top. And I thought, I don't know. What is so special about my story? And I thought it was something that we all think about. We've all heard a series of stories today. Everyone has a story. And so when I was thinking about what would I talk about today, I thought about, well, what are the biggest issues facing us as leaders today? And it really doesn't matter whether you're in print or packaging or any industry. The first one that came to mind for me was supply chain. We have navigated 2.5 years of what feels like constant change, and it may never go back to the way it once was. And the second thing is finding qualified talent, which seems to be a common theme today. And I thought about how I have developed with the company and how I've been able to develop talent within my organization. And I thought that's what I would focus on today. So for some audience participation, to make sure everybody stays awake today, before we have our next coffee break, I'm just curious, how many in the audience, when graduating from secondary school, high school, or college, said, oh, I'm going to work in print and packaging? Wow, I see like almost no, I see a half a hand over here. Much like everybody else in the audience, I fell into packaging by mistake. I responded to an ad in the newspaper long before we had internet job ads that we all know today. And so I was reading a study created by a company called Wallet Hub. And it seems that most graduates today are attracted to a career that works remote, software, technology, has a high level of pay to begin. And I thought, well, what do we have to offer and how does print and packaging compare? And what are we missing? So these happen to be the top roles that Wallet Hub discovered that most college graduates are going after today. And they measured 108 different roles and jobs across 3 categories. The first one was starting salary. So when I think about print and packaging, kind of tough. Like many industries in manufacturing, we don't always start out with the highest rate of pay to attract new talent. We don't always have, we don't have the ability to do remote work in many of the roles that we have in our companies. And if you do come to the office, you're probably not playing ping pong and playing games and having free snacks, which is what a lot of the IT industry offers. And they also looked at growth. And I think growth can be looked at in 2 different ways. The first one is, are you talking about from a product growth? Because I feel like over the last 2.5 years, packaging has had a moment. Everybody is talking about packaging. It's not just a transportation device. It's a way to market and connect with customers. And then the second thing is, what's the opportunity for growth from a career standpoint? How can somebody advance through an organization? Many of these IT roles, people get a high starting salary, but they can burn out pretty quick. And the third thing is related to working overtime. A lot of college graduates today are looking for more work-life balance. And I don't know about you, but for the Boxmaker, we have our peak season from September to January 1st, and pretty much everybody in the company is working overtime. So it can be challenging, but you can burn out in some of these IT roles. And so with that, it's something to think about. So what do we have to offer in print and packaging? Well, I thought of 3 things that we really have to offer. We have creativity. Doesn't matter what role you're in, whether you're in sales or design or client services or even on the production floor. It takes a little bit of creativity sometimes to get some of these projects executed. We have problem solving. We have customers constantly bringing us unique problems they want us to solve, bringing their vision to life. And there's plenty of opportunity for that. And then communication. When I think about all of the technology that many of us either manufacture or in our plant, we use a lot of technology bringing products to market, but also, we still need people to be able to communicate, and that's really important. And those are three things that we offer. And a lot of graduates today, they want to be challenged. When I think about the millennials in my company, they want to be challenged. If they get bored, that's what's going to drive people to leave. And so I'm going to hopefully focus on two things for you to take away today. The first one is the talent you've been looking for could be right underneath your nose, and you don't even know it. And the second thing is going to be about culture and creating a coaching and development culture within your organizations. So when you think about advancing through an organization, I'm just curious, how many people in the room have been within their current company have had 2 or more roles? Okay, good advancement. Keep your hand up if you've had 3 or more roles in your current company. Fewer, but some. Anybody have 4? I'll get a handful. So at the Boxmaker, I've been with the company for 16 years, and I have had 4 different roles. And all of my roles have been in sales or sales management. But I also think about the people in my company who have cross-functional experience, and where can those people go? And a question I want you to leave here with is, what is the path that you can create for people to create, cross-functional roles within your company? Because there's nothing like having people with experience in multiple functions of the business to be able to move and then link those things together. So, in the essence of time, in 2006, I started at the Boxmaker as a salesperson. And on my first day, they handed me a stack of business cards and a stack of brochures and said, go sell something. That was my training. Not something we can really get away with today. But I had a great sales manager. He was a really great inspiration for me. We had complementary skills. We made a lot of calls together. We closed a lot of business. And after a couple of years, I came to work one day to find that, that manager was no longer with the company. And I was devastated. I felt like he was my partner, and he helped develop me over time. And so it took me a few months to recover, and I really thought about, should I stay? Is this the right place for me? How could they do this to this person who meant so much? But as it turns out, I decided to feel that frustration and disappointment into a path for purpose. And I wanted to pay it forward for other people what he had done for me. He really inspired me, so I decided I'm going to become a sales manager. If only I had known what that meant at the time. And so I really thought about, I didn't want to take any chances. So I went and I asked one of the other managers at the company, hey, I want to go into sales management. Can you help me kind of understand what that path looks like? And he promptly said, well, great salespeople don't make good managers, so I don't think that's really a path for you. And I was pretty devastated. That was that was a big rejection. And a few months later, I happened to be sitting at dinner next to the owner of the company, and I said, Dave, I would like to go into management someday. And we had this great conversation, but he said, the truth is, you're a top-producing salesperson. I can't really pay you enough to go into management. As a top-producing seller, you're making more money than most of the managers on a salary. And I said, well, Dave, if you're not going to pay me, somebody else will. And I look back on some of these things that I said over the years and think, how did I get away with that? But, more discussion happened, and I thought about, I wasn't going to leave it to chance. So I hired an executive coach. So I hired a coach, and over the last 10 years, I've had several coaches. And over that time, I've also, taken that and created a coaching and development culture within my part of the organization. So one thing to think about is I was relentless. I wasn't quiet. I wasn't going to go away. Nothing was going to stop me. And when I think about the people within my part of the organization that I've spoken to about development, most of them are waiting to get tapped on the shoulder. Most of them are waiting for us to tell them, hey, it's your time to move up. What do you want that to look like? And that can be, we're not going to be able to develop the talent by we're just tapping people on the shoulder when it's time to move up. So something to think about is, to create a path and create a conversation with people, asking questions and thinking about what that's going to look like. And one thing that my team knows about me is, and one of the ways I've created that environment is to create a coaching environment and giving people the opportunity to take risk and make decisions. And I'm okay with the consequences that might come with that, because they're going to make mistakes. They're probably going to cost the company money that we don't want to spend. But think about what that can do for that next group of leaders behind us and what they'll do for the next group of leaders behind them. And I thought this was a really interesting quote, so I'm going to read it. Everybody is a genius, but if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it will live its whole life believing that it's stupid. I want you to think about the people in your organization that may on the surface seem like maybe they're not the best performers, but in what roles would they thrive? I have a couple of people in the organization that have moved from one function to another, and on the surface, when they were in their original roles, maybe didn't succeed, but when they moved, for example, we have people that have moved from customer service to finance. I have somebody who was in a sales role at one point, and I asked him, why are you in sales? And he said, because I want to help people. And I said, people don't become salespeople because they want to help people. That's usually not the driver. And it turns out he went to school and became our lead our IT development team. So he works in IT now. I have people that have left customer service to go into logistics, and they really are thriving. So think about those people and what you can do to help that. From a culture standpoint, think about how many of your organizations are truly aligned. You need alignment across all functions of the business, not just sales and marketing, but also across IT, operations, finance. And what are you doing to foster that kind of environment? So I think about environment for a successful company like a banana split. You need people, you need to be connected to the people. You need to have consistent, repeatable process, because even though we're developing talent, also when we hire people, it has to be easy for people to step in and learn about our business. I work at a 41, 42-year-old company, and we have a lot of businesses, or we have a lot of processes that were built when the company was founded and have evolved over time, but perhaps not evolved at the rate that business has. And you need really smart people to be able to pull those things together. And also putting profit. That doesn't mean always making decisions based upon money, but putting the needs of the business at the forefront, along with a consistent process and the people. So one of the questions that I was asked when I wanted to get into management was, and I feel like this was pivotal in my career, do you want to manage people or do you want to manage projects? And I really had to think long and hard about the answer, at least how I was going to answer it, because the truth is I wanted to manage people, but I didn't have any experience, and I didn't have the best relationship with my new manager at the time. And so I was concerned about giving him an honest answer. And when you think about honesty, you have to have honesty in order to get to the truth. And if we're willing to have honest and truthful conversations, we can really open up a really good dialogue to help people develop and coach them along. And so how do you get to that honesty? How do you get to that truth? Because sometimes that truth can really help us uncover some hidden gems within our company of opportunity. And one of the things that sets me apart is my willingness to be vulnerable. I'm a very vulnerable leader. I am willing to have conversations with people to talk about some of the challenges I've had along the way. I recognize that if you are a CEO or a president or top level at the organization, it can be difficult because in certain situations, if you're too vulnerable, you can appear weak. But there is a fine line and there is a good way to find balance, perhaps a coach. can certainly help you with that. But something to think about is being vulnerable, and that creates honesty. And I'll just share a quick story about, something that I did to pull some of these things together. When I wanted to go into management, and I finally said, after having an honest conversation, that I wanted to manage people, I was given a project to change the company's quote format. So I was really excited. I wasn't managing people yet, but this was my chance to show what I've got. And so I was asked, well, who needs to be part of this project? And I said, well, I guess IT would have to be part of this project because they're going to have to make the actual changes to the outline of the quote. And then I realized I had to work with an estimator who happened to manage a department who is viewed as being somebody who's difficult to work with. And what I learned in that process was how to lead through influence. I didn't have to manage anybody. I didn't need manager or vice president in my title to manage this project and to manage this person. I needed to make her part of the process. We needed to have a conversation. And so I told her what the outcome was, what did I want it to look like. And these two people were able to help me pull all of that together. But because I made her part of the process and part of the conversation, it really helped transform the project, and she was pivotal in making that a success. And I learned a lot about managing people when I didn't have an actual management role and no experience. And so with that, just something to think about is, what can you do in your company to align all of these things? And you're not always going to have people speaking up for you, but to create a path for those that work within the organization and creating a coaching and development culture, aligning all of those things across your company, and give people an opportunity, give them a chance to fail, because you might uncover some really hidden talent within your organization. And so with that, I will close out. Thank you, everybody. And if you have any questions, I'll be here the next few days.
Thank you very much.